other consultants would say like, oh, I have to do this thing. It's like, it's an emergency, right? And it's like, well, it's never really an emergency when you're a consultant. Like it's
Yeah,
really an emergency when you're actually like, running the ops, because like that's the place
yeah.
that
Stuff is
breaks.
going wrong like right now.
Exactly. Right now on the ground, these customers, complete disaster, like please
Yeah,
fix.
awesome. Well, let's start off just by talking about the role itself at a high level. Tell me a little bit like what, at a tech company like Opendoor or other big tech companies, you can extrapolate a little bit. What's the role of BizOps like day to day? Like obviously there is going to be variance whether you're at Google or Opendoor, but what are some of the anchors of that experience and how might it differ from say being a product manager at one of those companies or a consultant at McKinsey?
Yeah. So, in some ways, it is kind of like applied operations type consulting, right? But let me speak about the role in terms of three different time horizons that you might have to deal with. The
Okay.
first are kind of the exigencies of the immediate when it comes to like problems that are acute and facing the business right now, right?
Mm,
So, the BizOps group is typically the group that has to investigate things that are clearly broken, and broken in a bad way, right?
yeah.
So let's
So this is
say,
the firefighting part of the role.
exactly. Like there is certainly the firefighting part of the role, because you might have something that is like ruining the customer experience. You can see that customers are getting lost. They're not getting follow-up conversations, right? Like something is wrong. And the first line of defense for that is the biz ops, right? That they are the first responders. Um, then there is kind of like the medium term, right? And that is largely about improving efficiency and performance by applying more rigor, analytics, tools, and process to the system that's already in place, right? So in our universe, we have a big set of bespoke tools that we use for kind of all of our customer interactions, that we use for renovating our homes, right? And the way that those work together oftentimes can be cloudy, unclear, right? And
Mhm.
where things are breaking down is often like not great either. And so BizOps working with an analytics team, right, will partner together and basically work to optimize around those systems that are in place. And then there is what I would say like the longer term, right? And this is not a strategy role, so you are talking about not the where to play, what market should we be in question, right? But more, how do we become the absolute best at what we are doing, and what are like the limitations that are stopping kind of extreme scaling at the business level, right?
Mm,
How do
yeah.
we do 10x more with what we have for resources? What would that have to look like? What are the systems in place, and helping the operational leaders and the other executives kind of like map out what that future vision should look like, and putting together a plan to kind of get there. So in contrast to, let's say, I would say like the consulting world, as I mentioned,
Yep.
in many ways it has a lot in common with operations consulting, right? Plus all of that firefighting work, which operations consultants never have to do. I think one of one of the lines I often heard, right, was other consultants would say like, oh, I have to do this thing. It's like, it's an emergency, right? And it's like, well, it's never really an emergency when you're a consultant. Like it's
Yeah,
really an emergency when you're actually like running the ops, because like that's the place that
yeah.
that
Stuff is
breaks.
going wrong like right now.
Exactly. Right now on the ground, these customers, complete disaster, like please
Yeah,
fix.
yeah. Versus
So
like this slide is really due at 6 p.m. Not an
that's
emergency, really.
that's a that is 100% correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. We had a fire, or we had a house burn down 2 days ago. It's like, okay, like
yeah.
that's a
Like
little different.
real. Yeah,
Yeah. Things
yeah.
on the ground. And so So that differentiates it from, I would say, like the operational arm of a consulting company, and obviously
Yep.
from like the pure strategy corporate finance role, like there is not that much exposure to that. You get next to it because you can say what is possible from an operating perspective. Um, but if you want to be like truly in that strategy corp finance role, like you're better suited for a job in the strategy function
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah, I like the framework you laid out a lot, and that definitely resonates with me. It's like the acute level of like what is absolutely broken today, go fix that. And then there's, hey, this thing is working, but it's really inefficient. Help that process get better. And then this third stage that's sort of like aspirational for like where can the company, 10x X or Y function or that type of thing.